Hi, this is Uchi, and as I did for this run, I actually had a glass of whiskey, so I'll be doing that as we go along. So here we go. So this is a Hall of Fame run, and there are 80 cases to complete. The first one is the quickest one, being our gumshoe case. We have 3 destinations to travel to, and this will take it normally takes about 60 seconds to complete. So we've got some pretty quick clues. Big advantage of our suspect having red hair. That'll be something I'll talk about later on. But the difficult thing about the first case, especially as part of a speed run, whether you do single case or Hall of Fame, you only get about 6 to 7 opportunities to pick up clues. And especially if there's that 7th opportunity of being able to ring an informant, sometimes that clue doubles up. But we got a pretty good run in this case. Fortunately, we did cop a bit of a longer verdict, and again, that'll be something that I will discuss later on. It is pretty rapid fire as we go through the early stages. I had a slight hiccup with this answering the first question, but yeah, you'll have questions that you need to answer correctly as you go along in order to rank up. If you don't answer it correctly, or if you try to skip the question, the previous case you completed won't count towards your record, and you have to start the case again. So we ranked up, became an investigator, and we're on to our second case. So with these cases, we have 4 destinations we need to travel to. And yeah, the aim is to pick up as few clues as possible in order to form our warrant. So besides gender, we want 2 clues, preferably 2 clues. Sometimes you have to go to 3. Sometimes you might even have to go to 4, depending what it is, or depending who you're after. It's not impossible to go to 5 or 6 clues, but ideally we don't want to do that. And we have roses, roses, a rose.
Order in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
And again, we have a long verdict. So as I sort of started to mention before from the first case, there are 2 different verdicts you can have. You can either have a short verdict where the judge announces that the suspect is guilty, which takes about 4 seconds, or you can have a longer verdict, which all up takes about 7 to 8 seconds. Okay, so on to our third case. So the clues that we're picking up as we go along. Okay, so the first clue was limousine. We've also noted that the suspect is blonde. There are a couple of suspects that share those identities, but now we have the clue that the person has grey eyes, and it should be serenade. And there's our warrant. So in order to save time, the idea is as you're moving through the locations, you want to hold onto those clues. So you probably hold to 1, maybe 2, depending what the clues are. But as you become more familiar with the suspects, you may figure out pretty quickly who it is going to be, or who the possibilities are going to be. That just comes with practice and experience playing this game.
Order in the court.
And
The court finds
in the early
defendant
stages,
guilty.
you could expect that sometimes roughly your first 20 to 25 cases, you might have a little bit of a slow start, but the run does even out a lot more as you work further through and have more destinations to play through. But yeah, that was 3 long verdicts so far. Okay, so we already picked up a couple of clues. I don't think that guarantees a warrant, that combination. Okay, going to the Pharaoh Islands. So, yep, and there's our informant who has given us a double up on a clue, which is not very useful. Okay, but that'll do the trick now. Blue eyes. We should have Bjorn Toulouse, if I remember correctly. Yep. Okay, so the big part as well, apart from holding clues in memory for your warrant, you want to be able to sight the clues on the screen very quickly, and just hopefully recognize where you need to go to straight away. And again, that can take a little bit of practice. Sometimes it's just a case of
Halt!
sometimes it's just a case of writing down or making notes about where your clues are taking you to. So there are different ways you can do that. It is possible to open up the game data file to see all the clues for every single country. What I did when I worked through this game, I actually made a spreadsheet and just listed as many clues for different countries as possible. There are some clues that will overlap, and that'll be something that we'll get into later on. But we're up to our 5th case now. Okay, and because we have fewer destinations to travel to, we just want to pick up as many clues as quickly as we can. Scar, which is a very friendly clue for us. That should give us our suspect, which it does. And the great thing is, if the earlier you form your warrant, the more you can just quickly concentrate on the clues and just know where you need to move to next. And we'll have our suspect.
Halt!
Now, one thing that can happen as well as part of speed running for a Hall of Fame, it's very easy to luck out.
Order in the court.
Usually within the first
The court
16
finds
cases.
the defendant guilty.
Just simply because, as I mentioned before, fewer destinations, especially if you're just trying to pick up the first clue from one place to the next and just hoping that the person, just whoever's at the top of your clue list will give you a hint as to who the suspect may be. But anyway, we've completed our second question. We've become a senior investigator. On to case number 6. Now we have 5 destinations to travel to. So it potentially gets a little bit easier, but it can still be a little bit tricky if the game's a bit stubborn with giving up clues. And speaking of some of the clues, sometimes the clues can be a little bit tricky in terms of identifying what that means. So sienna, I didn't know what sienna was at first, but learned that sienna is brown. There's some other interesting ones as well. In fact, I've had a couple of runs in the past where I've misinterpreted the clue and just completely put the wrong thing in, put the wrong evidence in, and then generated the incorrect warrant as a result. There's Fast Eddie B. And there's our short verdict. So that's ideally the one that you want to get as often as possible to cut down 3 to 4 seconds. Very important as well if you're going for single case record. Ideally, you want to get a short verdict to reduce the amount of time it takes. And here's where I get a little bit stuck. So clues to countries in clusters. So we had so I had to get a couple of hints there, and it doesn't hurt sometimes to be on the safe side. So it can take less time to pick up a second hint as opposed to traveling to the wrong country, having to travel back and then get to that country again, which get to the correct country, which can take anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds, just depending how quick you respond. But it can be a sufficient time loss, especially if you make numerous mistakes.
Freeze!
And we have Dazzlani.
Oh.
And we get another short verdict.
Guilty.
On to case number 8. Now I think with this case we had a shortage of clues. So we've gone to Jakarta. Yep. Now this is something that can potentially end a run if the game's pretty stubborn giving you clues. So far, so we've had to get an informant to give us our first hint, and still the other general clues haven't given us anything towards our suspect. And we have a double up of clues, which is not useful at all. So at this stage, I just thought, well, just to take my mind off things. Let's just get the clue of green eyes in. And we had croquet, that's right. So apparently having dangerous sports makes you a croquet player. And apparently mountain climbing is a dangerous sport. So, although I have heard many reports that it's actually a very safe sport to do.
Freeze!
There's Ihor Ihorovich. Or Ihor Ihorovich. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. And we've got a short verdict.
Guilty.
That'll bring us up to our next case. So, one thing that I've added on my UI, as you can see to the left, I've added some inputs so you can see what I'm doing. So you'll notice that most of the time I have the escape key pressed down. Having the escape key pressed down cuts down a lot of time on animations and button presses in the game. Now you can use other buttons, you can hold down other buttons to help speed up some of the processes, but the escape has a much faster process of speeding through many things. In terms of, so I've also got their left mouse button and right mouse button. There'll be some occasions where I'm just going to do a rapid click function between both, simply because the buttons in the game interact with both buttons on the mouse.
Halt!
There's no right click menus that are brought up, and this is a really good example where, so to get through the news broadcast, it's rapid
Guilty.
clicking back and forth between the two mouse buttons. We get the brief split when guilty appears on the monitor, and we're on to our next case. Case number 10. We're off to Sydney. Matt coming in a week gives us armadillo. So there are some combinations again that that'll make it pretty easy to figure out who it is. Now, there are some clues again, as I mentioned before. There's some doubling up with countries. So there are a few that come out about the Prime Minister, about going to a country with a Prime Minister, and there's quite a few countries that have Prime Ministers, but there are specific clues that let you know where you need to go to. So whether the Prime Minister has an aide, if you're playing chess with the Prime Minister, or if you're playing golf with the Prime Minister. So if you're playing chess with the Prime Minister, you end up going to New Delhi. If you're playing golf with the Prime Minister, you end up going to Athens in Greece.
Guilty.
So it's remembering some of those combinations. There's a few other ones. But anyway, we've answered our third question. We've ranked up, and now we've become an inspector. So we have 6 destinations to travel to. Posing as a Lutheran minister. Okay, so we're trying to get clues. There's one. So yep. So she has Mexican food. This one caught me out a little bit. So this is where I made my first mistake. So the clue was about a Lutheran minister, and I was thinking, for some reason, Catholic, because there are clues that overlap, but the Barents Sea made it apparent that we need to go to Oslo. Yeah, as I mentioned, it becomes a significant time loss, and we'll get an idea in this split as to how much time is lost. Although, the splits are taking more on account my competition with personal best time rather than what my best split is overall. Speak Malay, should be Singapore. And fortunate there, so normally check down the list, but took a chance there by ringing CrimeNet. There's our double clicking back and forth between left and right mouse buttons, and
Guilty.
we get a short verdict to compensate, but yeah, it's a significant enough time loss that we've had as a result. So we've got a couple of hints straight away. So I think it was junk food and jewelry, and that should give us enough clues. Yep. So junk food is another one of those friendly clues. And the great thing now is it's just a case of site where you're going to next on the screen, so site where the hint is, and just straight to the next destination. Even a little bit of predetermination on the map, and that's something that you'll notice me do after I've picked up a clue. So I'll pick up a clue, have a rough idea of the area that I need to go to. This works out. Yeah, this just works out really efficiently. There's some very rare occasions where I might use the other place where you can click for your destinations.
The court finds the defendant guilty.
On the screen where you can see the news popping up. So they give a list. They give a list rundown. It's always alphabetical order. So if you can pretty much guarantee that the destination you're going to is towards the top or the bottom of the list, you could always hover around there too. So we've got a couple of very good clues straight away. We'll double up there, but that's okay. So we've got blonded skateboard. That should give us enough. Yep. So again, yeah. So with the men, there are two people that ride skateboards. One has blonde hair, one has brown hair, and I think it's similar for the women as well. So there are two skateboard riders there as well. One has black hair, one has brown hair. Port Moresby, and we will catch our suspect.
Freeze!
And we also want to make sure that we catch the correct suspect, of course.
Guilty.
That's case number 13. On to number 14. So small advantage in the run so far. Just one mistake, which is pretty good. Okay, so we're starting to pick up clues here. So I had Mexican food. I can't remember what the other clue was. But what we start to assess after a while with this case... Okay, and convertible. So Mexican, convertible, and... So we have two suspects there. It was just double checking. I was just double checking to make sure it was going to be just those two. So Carmen Sandiego and Lady Agatha Wayland. So in a previous video, I mentioned about being Carmened. So from case 35 onwards, where you can have a whole heap of hints from between those two suspects. So they share a lot of similarities. The only difference between the two is hair color and eye color. But in these early stages, if you find that you have clues that are pretty much making those two the two possible suspects, Lady Agatha Wayland can be guaranteed to be your warrant in these early stages. So Carmen will not make an appearance until cases 35 to 49, and that'll be something that I'll mention later on in terms of strategy and cutting down the amount of time to catch Carmen. So we've got a fairly fast warrant again. And making our way through. Now, one thing that I'm not doing as much with these cases, I'm not counting the amount of destinations that I'm traveling to as I go along. There's enough to think about as there is. So what I do instead is I keep track of the timer. So I'll have the timer below my game, and even though it's above in this case, and I'll have a rough idea of where I'm up to in terms of travel, and just going through clues, whether I'm speeding through them or if I'm taking a little bit more time with the warrants. I'll have a rough idea as to where I'm up to.
The court finds the defendant guilty.
There are some occasions where I will second guess myself, and which will just end up being a very minor time loss, but it's not too much of a deal. Okay, case number 16. So I make 2 mistakes. This was not... okay, I think this was where... yep, this is where I made the mistake. So there's confusion of the first clue of the person mining for tin. And I went to Rwanda, which is not a clue for tin. It's actually a clue for another mineral, for tungsten. Then I went to Nairobi, which is just completely off, and then it just suddenly clicked, oh, hang on a sec, I need to get to Bangkok. So 2 mistakes is pretty significant in terms of the amount of time. Certainly as you move further along through the cases and ranking up and having to travel to more destinations, this can become a much larger issue later on, where and especially if you're traveling a lot further across the world, taking more time means that you'll be shorter on time to be able to complete your case, because you do have a time limit in terms of day and time. So if you don't catch a suspect by the day that they've set and the final time, then you've run out of time, you've failed the case, and you have to start again.
Guilty.
And we get our next question. Francis Lightfoot Lee, the farmer. And we get our next rank up. And we move on to case 17. So we are now a senior inspector. We have 7 destinations that we need to travel to. So one thing that I did do for this case, I picked up... Yep, there's a double up of clues again. So I'm holding clues in my mind. So black hair, grey eyes, and then we have the clue for junk food. And I actually didn't need to worry about the clue for junk food, which is again a very handy clue to have, because there's only 2 people, 2 men, 2 women that have junk food. But instead of putting in the junk food as well, I just remembered, well, the suspect, you'll be sorry, has black hair and grey eyes.
Freeze!
And we have our suspect.
Oh. Order in the court. The
And
court
unfortunately, we had a longer verdict.
Guilty.
That's the way it goes. So we're still behind in time, especially from case number 16, but it's not a time loss where you'd be panicking. It's like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to be way behind. As I said before, the fluctuations just go up and down to begin with. So brown eyes and a mountain climber, that should be enough to give us Robin Banks. And it's a case of speeding ahead from here. And I think we'll be doing that for the next few cases, for cases 19, 20 and 21. Tails, which will take us to Jamaica. And there we go, we got Robin Banks.
Freeze!
Oops. Slight misclick of the button there, so very important, yeah.
Order in the court.
Keeping the mouse
The
steady.
court
It's
finds
you
the
can't
defendant
can't let
guilty.
the mouse skate around. Got to make sure that keeping it stable as you just rapidly double click between your left and right fingers. So while we're going through the next few cases, probably a good opportunity just to sort of mention how I got involved with or discovered running this game. So this was a game that I played back in my childhood when I was in primary school. I think for Carmen Deluxe, I first encountered when I was in year 6. But prior to that, I had been exposed to the Carmen Sandiego games. In my earlier years. So there was the first version I was exposed to was the Apple IIe version. Gosh, that's going back a lot. That's going way back in the 90s. And I think that was on the 5.25-inch floppy disks. But also I had relatives that had Carmen Sandiego games as well. I think they had both Where in the World and Where in Europe.
Freeze!
So that's kind of where the journey started, all those years ago, playing
Order in the court.
playing Carmen Deluxe
The
in
court
primary
finds
school.
the defendant guilty.
Yeah, you had a lot more limited time, so you had to make sure you maximise the time as best as possible to try to progress through the game. But yeah. As a kid, though, you didn't really think too much about it. It's a case of like, oh, we're trying to capture Carmen Sandiego. Although my early assumption with the game, based on the older version of Where in the World, was, you'll work through the cases and you capture Carmen at, I think it's case number 50. And that was slightly assumed, playing Where in the World as Carmen Sandiego Deluxe. It's like, around about case 50. Oh, yeah, I'll catch her then. And I think I'd completed 50 cases, and then the game came up with saying like, "Oh, you received a commendation," and it was a case of like, "Oh, what do we do from here?" And anyway, eventually understanding that you had to complete 80 cases to reach the Hall of Fame, and that's when you completed the game. But anyway, that was a long time ago. But then there was a stream. There's a streamer that I follow, Pixel Smixel, who earlier this year was exploring. She was exploring maps on Cetera, and she started off with European countries, learning where they were, and it was interesting. It was interesting.
Guilty.
It was interesting watching her try to pinpoint the locations. It was a good learning experience for us, observing her as we were going along, and as always, I mean, essentially where you're learning to memorize where things are, or eventually try to do things faster. It's somewhat fascinating to watch how someone progresses. And anyway, there was I made a bit of a joke that this could become a bit of like a Carmen Sandiego type of stream, and it got me thinking. Have the Carmen Sandiego games been speedrun? And anyway, went to the speedrun website, and we had a look on Cetera there because there was someone else in Pixel's chat that mentioned that there were speedrun times for the different Cetera maps. I had a look at Carmen Sandiego. I noticed that there were the different titles, and it sort of got me thinking about, what games could I explore? And anyway, there was one for Carmen Deluxe, which is probably my favorite Carmen Sandiego game, and that was where that was where I noticed Synthpop. Synthpop is back, who had created on there a single case record, and it got me thinking, just downloading the game and playing through it, like, is it possible to do a longer version of it? Because I wanted to do a longer version of this game, and that's where the Hall of Fame run idea came into place. Now case number 22 that we're on. So my personal best was 1:55. So the good thing is, after case 16, I have clawed back time, and this ends up being quite a significant time save, if I remember correctly. So blue eyes and skin diving skateboard, that should be enough. Yep, sandy dunes. And it's just a case of carrying on from here. The bath party, which is in Baghdad in Iraq, and this should give us our, there we go, we found him.
Halt!
And as soon as I found it was a short verdict,
Guilty.
just knew, that's going to be a gold split. And gives, So while the gold split is nice, it's a huge time save that will help set you up. So anyway, so back to what I was talking about before. So that was where I first met Synthpop. So got in contact with him on Twitter. So sent him some DMs, just asking questions about what the different requirements were for Carmen Deluxe, and anyway, that was so that's where the journey began from there. So found out the standards of standard to be set with processor and so forth. So you can't accelerate the game. I mean, you go fast enough through the game as it is. So there's not really much point in trying to make the game go unnecessarily faster or faster than its normal means. And so after getting in contact with Synthpop, started re-exploring the game, understanding how it works.
Halt!
And there were a few ideas that I had in terms of what I could do for different categories. So there are some further ideas that I have for single case. Although single case isn't really it's not really an area that I'm interested in pursuing. Hall of Fame's more or less the area that I'm having a lot more fun with in terms of improving upon. An earlier idea I had was capturing Carmen, although I don't think it. I mean, it could work as a potential type of run in the future, but it's a bit hit and miss, simply because with the concept of capturing Carmen, you just don't know when you're going to capture her, and there's also the rare possibility that she won't appear at all, which has happened on one of my runs in the past. Yep. So after getting in contact with Synthpop and going through the game, decided to try to find some guides if there was anything. There wasn't really too much, but there was one quality guide, and I'll make sure that I'll pop a link in below this video. So there's one guy, Video, and he's made a very thorough guide in terms of playing the game in general,
Halt!
and definitely worth reading up on before getting involved with this. There's a lot of great information that is included, and hopefully if I produce a guide in the future, then there'll be some additional information that I can provide. We get to our fifth question. So this is a year answer, 1942. I think there are 2 year answers. 1942 for the film, and I think it was 1968 for a sport question. I think it might have been a skater. Anyway, so we've ranked up to case 25, and we are now at the detective rank. So as a detective, you will have 8 destinations that you need to travel to. I think we have enough information there. Yep, serenade. So 8 destinations. Clues do become a lot easier to come across by this stage, and yeah, usually you'll be confident enough just to question the person at the top of the list, and they should give you enough information to be able to carry on. In this case, we probably picked up a bit more information than we normally did. Probably not a bad thing, just seeing the run of lack of clues so far. Yeah. So it's a bit of a choice. Do you take the chance of just progressing from one country to the next and hopefully pick up the clues as you go along, or hopefully pick up 2 clues, maybe at your first destination that can secure your warrant.
Defendant guilty.
And we had another gold split. So making some pretty good time, some good headway at this stage. Really good opportunity to split again in comparison to the personal best to cut down the amount of time. But the time that I was really keen to cut down upon was going to be after question 6, which will be from case 35 onwards. So once we get through this set of cases from 25 to the end of 34, we'll rank up to Master Detective, and then it'll be a case of just keeping your eyes peeled for Carmen, whether we choose to catch her or not. But that'll be something that I'll mention when we come up to that stage. I think I got a step ahead of myself there. I thought that was going to be it, but no, I needed that one extra destination to get to. That was no big deal. Over Mirror of the Rock.
Guilty.
Nice little time save again. Helps with a short verdict. And yeah, as I'm progressing through the cases, I'm just keeping an eye on what my best possible time is. So the initial aim was to get under 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Sorry, not 2 minutes, 2 hours and 25 minutes. Blah. So getting under 2 hours and 25 minutes, and by this stage, just seeing the difference there is to 2 hours and 20 minutes, didn't think about it too much, but it was just a case of like, well, I'm staying ahead of time pretty well. We'll just keep going. We'll keep going along. But I knew that there would be the significant time save coming up from case 35. So it was going to be interesting to see what I could do from there. So I think at this stage I'm still sitting on 3 mistakes. Yeah, 3 mistakes total.
Freeze!
So just having 3 mistakes at this stage is pretty good. Ideally you want no mistakes, but
Order in the court.
but the main thing with the Hall of Fame run is
defendant guilty.
your concentration is going to be tested in terms of remembering your hints. Hopefully not being fooled by the destinations that you're traveling to, or the options of destinations that you could travel to. But yeah, there are some combinations, as I've said, there are combinations you've just got to be aware of. If there was one clue that I would say is probably the worst one to receive, it would have to be when you're told that the country that you're traveling to has a red and white flag, and you have a look at your options, and 3 or 4 of the destination options are countries with red and white flags, and it's like, oh my goodness. So you could have options of Warsaw in Poland, Copenhagen in Denmark, Tokyo in Japan, Jakarta with Indonesia, Lima with Peru. So you have all these options with red and white flags, and it's like Vienna in Austria. So which one? They've all got red and white flags. Again, there are some little specific hints here or there that you can aim to remember to travel to those countries. Maybe there's one with a duffel bag, and one that mentions
Order in the court.
the suspect being
The
somewhat
court finds the
patriotic.
defendant guilty.
I think there was another one like with wearing a jumpsuit or something. The huge fishery in Reykjavik in Iceland. Got for that, so we're going to Jerusalem. Getting a pretty good run. At this stage, yeah, so sometimes what I would do is I would hover over the evidence button. So if I had a couple of clues in memory and it was getting to a stage where I was sort of feeling like, you know what, I think I'm going to get one more clue here. There should be another clue that I get. I'd just be ready to enter it in evidence straight away. And I think that's regardless of whether or not, there we go, there's the patriotic clue with the red and white shirt, which takes us to Denmark. But yeah, with the clues, if I'm getting to a stage where, you know what, I need one more clue to put in for my warrant, especially if I'm holding on to 2 in my memory, then yeah, so whether it gives me a hint or not, I'll just put the evidence in anyway.
Guilty.
Good short verdict. And we're on to case 30. Actually, that was a gold split as well, so that was a very good time save. Oh, especially in relation to the personal best. So edging our way up to be about a minute 30 seconds ahead. So So the best thing to do, aim to keep pressing that advantage. Just keep picking up your clues. Keep finding the hints as you go along. Have them ready to put in. So had black hair and a scar. That's going to be enough evidence. Actually, one thing that I should find very quickly, and it's the best hints to have. So it's something that I want to do in the future. Put a video together as part of a guide in terms of what are the best clues to to have on hand, or the best clue combinations to have, because there are some very interesting clue combinations with suspects. But in general, the best clue that you can have, so whether your suspect is a man or a woman, is if red hair is mentioned, you can guarantee just one more clue, you will have your suspect. So that works for both men and women.
Order in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
Longer verdicts, but we're still doing well, still ahead of time from the previous segment, from our personal best. And we'll launch into our next case. So while we're doing that, so the best initial clues to pick up. So at the top, so what I'd probably call your S tier would be red hair. So whether it's a man or a woman. Other great clues to pick up for the men, if they have grey eyes or if they have a scar. So in terms of whether in terms of it being a man or a woman, you'll actually get your first hint from the first person that you speak to, because they'll always start off with he or she. So you'll always have that clue. I think the only time where you won't pick up whether or not it's a man or a woman is sometimes if you're making that phone call to your fourth clue in terms of your destination. And we'll catch our suspect. So for men, so either red hair, grey eyes, or having a scar. For the women, again, either red hair, having black hair, riding a motorcycle, or eating junk food. So any of those clues, all you need is one additional clue, and you'll have your suspect. But yeah, there's some other interesting combinations I mentioned as well. Probably one of the best ones in terms of the women suspect. If your suspect is a woman, if they have brown hair, all that you need in combination with their brown hair is the vehicle that they drive. So there are four. So four of the women have brown hair, but they each drive a different vehicle. So one drives a convertible, one's in a limousine, one's on a motorcycle, and one is on a skateboard. And then there are some combinations. There are some combinations of clues where it's awful. So for example, with actually, I've got the list in front of me. Probably one of the best examples for the men is their hobby and their food. So there's 8 possibilities with some of those combinations. But there's some other great combinations that you can have as well that just rules out different suspects. So for the men, so hobby and hair, hobby and eyes, or food and eyes. So they're 3 good combinations. For the women, it just depends if Carmen Sandiego's involved. When she's not involved, in general, food and hair, their feature and hair. So features include scars, as we have on the screen right now. So scar, jewelry, tattoo, or a wig. Vehicle and eyes. That's another good one to have. As I mentioned before, I was going to say vehicle and hair, but that only applies to brown hair for women. But otherwise, food and hobby, feature and hobby, vehicle and hobby. That's another one. Vehicle and food, and they're pretty much a lot of the friendly combinations without Carmen being involved.
Halt!
Got a short verdict.
Guilty.
And we're coming up to case 34. Actually, gold split as well. So doing well for time. So a minute 40 ahead of my personal best. Best possible time is still under 2 hours and 20 minutes. And this case should end up being a pretty cruisy one. We have an early warrant with Salmonella. Oh, good grief, some of these names. It's one thing you can't fault Broderbund on in the early years, just the names of criminals that they came up with. To Sydney. And we'll have our suspect. And now we move to question number 6, which will give us our Master Detective rank.
Order in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
So even though we had a long verdict there, still had a gold split. And our answer is Batman. Best grossing movie of 1989. Now, we move into an interesting period where, as part of our Master Detective rank, Carmen Sandiego comes into the mix. So, as a Master Detective, you'll have 9 destinations to travel to. Again, just starts to make picking up clues a lot easier, but this is where you start to become a lot more wary now that Carmen Sandiego could pop up as we go along, especially around case 35 or case 36. These seem to be, especially going through completing a Hall of Fame run as part of a speed run. 35 and 36 seem to be the best opportunities for Carmen to appear, but in this case, it's not. So there was I think there was an early hint that it was going to be a woman, but there was a clue that just made it very clear that it would not be Carmen straight away. Oh dear. I think I have one more place after. Nope. So we found Dazzlani.
Halt! Halt!
Okay, it's case 35 done. Short
Guilty.
verdict, and we move into case 36. So this is the other case that we want to be wary of immediately. And straight away, we know it's a woman and she has Mexican food. Carmen Sandiego's in play right now. And she has chocolate colored hair. So at this stage, so I actually made a mistake here, because at this stage I think I could have stopped. Actually, no, I couldn't. Sorry, no, I couldn't, because brown hair and Mexican food gives us 3 possibilities. And they're the possibilities right there. So it could be Carmen. So it could have been Carmen, could have been Lady Agatha Wayland, or it could have been Mary LaRocque. That's why I didn't restart straight away. But now we have brown eyes, and that gives us a warrant for Carmen Sandiego. Now, I'm not sure whether or not you have to bring up the warrant for Carmen Sandiego, if that has an effect. But in this case, found out it was Carmen, and the first thing I did was right back to Acme headquarters, because I did not want to complete the case with Carmen. When you complete a case with Carmen Sandiego as the suspect, you immediately get bumped up to the highest rank, which is Super Sleuth. And when that happens, all of a sudden, because you're at that rank, so as soon as you bumped up to that rank, you have to then travel to the maximum amount of destinations, which is 10. And especially from case 36, if you're aiming to complete all the cases as part of a Hall of Fame speed run, so from case 37 through to 45, yeah, you're having to complete 9 cases from there, with an extra destination that you need to travel to, which is not it's not conducive to saving time. So it's not helpful at all. So the better thing to do, and this was something that I tested a couple of times, and unfortunately the couple of times I tested, I had runs that failed. So what I did in the end was, came up with the idea like, okay, it's possibly going to be better to save time by cancelling the case that has Carmen, restarting the case to have a different suspect, and the early stage was the case of let's just see what happens from there.
Guilty.
So we do incur a time loss, but it is time that will be caught up. But yeah, the sooner that you can, the sooner you can figure out that Carmen is going to be your suspect, yeah, the better it's going to be to be able to. So even if it ends up being like the second last destination where your warrant is going to be Carmen Sandiego, especially around case 35 or 36, it's worth just restarting and then going from there, because what will happen is Carmen will basically go back into the mix of being one of the suspects, but she won't come back in anytime soon. That's something I need to figure out as well in terms of how fast or how soon she can rotate back into the mix. But I think it's fairly safe to guarantee that Carmen would not just suddenly reappear with the next case that you picked up. But yeah, you'll notice in comparison with my personal best time. So my personal best time was based upon catching Carmen on, I think that was a run where I caught Carmen on case 35. So it was a very fast capture of Carmen. I think it was about 57 minutes, and then completed the rest. Went all the way through, completed the run in under 2.5 hours. But as always, you want to find ways to be able to save even more time. So we caught Len Red Bulk.
Guilty.
Decent verdict. And already there's a significant time save in comparison to the personal best, but also very, very close to my best split as well. So a good save of about 24 seconds. Case 38, and I make a mistake. So there's my fourth mistake. So it's been a while. Since I made a mistake. So yeah, cases 25 to 34. That was a fantastic run. 25 to 37. I can't complain. That was a really good run of cases without making a mistake. But yeah, just got to go back. Again, I think it was a case. I think it was just a case there where I knew there were two possibilities. If it wasn't one, it would be the other one. So now we have an issue. I've got two clues, and I knew that it was going to be a problem. I don't know why I decided to send that evidence, but yeah. but I had to, yeah. So we're going to skateboard. So there are a couple of there are a couple of great examples of clues with the female suspects, that both Armadillo and Lean on Me, they're both skateboard riders that wear wigs. So you need to have a third clue in the mix to figure out who it is.
Freeze! Oh.
There's a rapid double clicking.
Order in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
But yeah, with further experience and remembering who's involved with different clues, you'll pick where you'll definitely pick which suspects take up different clues. Get a pretty good run on this case. Donald Quarry's gold medal neck. We're off to Jamaica. So, green eyes, Mexican food. That's going to guarantee our suspect. There are two people that have green eyes. The foods that they have, one has Mexican food, which was I'll see his name when he comes up again. But green eyes and seafood is going to be Igor Horovich. So it's Nick Brunch. Yeah, Nick Brunch has the Mexican food. Probably one thing that's worth noting as well, I haven't mentioned it so far, the width of the buttons that you can click on. So you can click on the entirety of the clue, the width of the clue, the space that it sits in. So that's always your entire button. In terms of the buttons on your little notepad or on the dial pad of your phone, it's going to be the width of the brown button. But in terms of the travel button, so travel, crime net, and warrant, it's the space of the white area. So you don't have to click specifically on the square that indicates for the travel button. You can just click on the far right side of travel, and that will activate the button for you. So it can save just that little bit of time. Can be something that's quite beneficial for single case running as well. On case 40, so this is our halfway mark. I think I made one mistake during this case. Might have missed it. I don't know if I made it early on. Oh no, this is the mistake right here. So, yeah, so fooled on the name of the Hikkaduwa Reef, which is not in Jakarta, it's in Colombo. Yeah, Hikkaduwa. But we have our suspect. So a minor time loss, but...
Halt!
But not a great deal, especially in comparison to the personal best, which is what we're aiming to reduce time from in order to set our best possible time, or to improve on our run. But so normally if you capture Carmen earlier on, case 40 would give you your commendation. So normally the commendations would occur from case 50 onwards, but if you catch Carmen prior to case number 40, then you'll receive a commendation at case 40 because you're already at maximum rank for Super Sleuth. So I'm not sure why the game does that, but it just does. So for these next 5 cases, it's pretty smooth sailing. Again, some quite significant time saves as we go along.
Halt!
I'm quite surprised, yeah, how good my best split was
Guilty.
previously at minute 39, but yeah. Another actually very good split there, especially compared to capturing Carmen. So I had a really good split of a minute 48, which is which is actually quite good. So anything under a minute 50 to have to travel to 10 destinations is going to be a very good run. Normally, it's going to be a case of picking up 2 clues very quickly that just give you, so normally your first and second destination. Just a couple of clues that just automatically give you your suspect. And I think even with this case, this is up for a pretty good run. There's another great example of clue with flag colors, so red, white, and blue. And then we have the patriotic red and white shirt back to Denmark. So got it with a couple of combinations. There's actually so with the red, white, and blue flag. So there's a few. I think there's 4 countries that take on that hint. So there's Paris, there's New York, there's Havana, capital of Cuba, and London. So Paris, London, New York, and Havana. If you have a clue with teacups, then that is guaranteed to be London every single time. And hey, you had a really good gold split there, so saving nearly 34 seconds. Bright auburn hair, so fantastic clue to receive. So suspect has red hair. All we need is one more clue. So pretty chill at the moment. There we go. So red hair with tennis. That should be Lady Agatha Wayland. And now we just keep pushing through for clues. Getting a very good run of clues. So Chopin Waltz. Oops. Now that one's caught me out a couple of times where so normally the location for Warsaw is located on the right, but when you have Moscow in the mix, it can be located on the left. And there have been a few occasions where and because the 2 countries share a similar shape with their name, just mainly the upper casing for the beginning and ending in W, it's very easy just to misclick, just to go ahead and say, oh, there it is, there's Warsaw. Oh, hang on a sec, I've just gone to Moscow instead. Again, it's the small details that you start to pick up on a bit further as you, especially if you speed run this. Again, another little time save as we go. But there's a significant difference between the personal best and best times. So Bay of Bengal off to New Delhi. So I wasn't sure at this stage whether or not I should pick up 2 clues earlier on, but then I thought, nah, just pick up the one. There's their example of a 4th clue. So driver, blonde, seafood. I think it does give us our warrant. Actually, it would, because our other blonde suspect. So both the blonde suspects for the men are involved with limousines, so they both have limousines, so that's Bjorn Toulouse and Ihor Horowitz. But yeah, the food they eat is different. So Horowitz has the seafood, and Toulouse has the junk food. To Myanmar. And we will have him.
Freeze!
Rapid click into our verdict. It's going to be a long verdict.
Order in the court.
It won't be a
The
gold,
court
but it'll
finds the
still be a time
defendant
save.
guilty.
So around that 1 minute 50 mark is a pretty good split at this stage. Still staying under 2 minutes. Would be ideal to keep it lower if possible, but you do what you can with the clues that you're given and the destinations you need to travel to. So even at this stage, so case number 45, so we've got 5 cases left to complete for this rank before we have to complete a question, if that ends up being the case. And it's still in the back of your mind. Carmen could still pop up. Obviously not for this case because we have Scar Greynault. And the first thing that we noticed when we spoke to someone was that, oh, he. It's like, okay, so it's a man. It's not going to be Carmen Sandiego. Rodolfo. Oh, that's right. So this one, yeah. And then the Machu Picchu is like, oh, it's going to be Lima. Yeah. So that was a clue that threw me off a little bit. And again, yeah, you're losing seconds as you go along. But the main thing is, as long as you're staying on track, as long as you're, I mean, even if you have to take a few seconds to remember, it's going to be a minor time loss.
Freeze!
But probably the best thing, I mean, you're constantly learning, you're constantly remembering your clues and some of the facts that go with different countries or places that you're visiting. All right, so case number 46 in Chiriquí. So this should be Panama, but for some reason I go to Lima. So it's very easy. So we're over an hour into the run. Your mind is racing from go to Mexico City, and it's like, so 2 mistakes. So that's taken me up to 7 mistakes total now. At this stage, I'm just kicking myself like, oh, come on, Chiriquí. It's Panama, of course. So I can easily look at it in the replay and just say like, oh, come on, it's not that hard. But at the time, yeah, because your mind is racing, it's trying to keep clues in mind with your suspect. It's very easy to second guess yourself or just say like, oh yeah, it's going to be this other country instead. And look, at the end of the day, when you make a mistake, you just got to do everything you can to play catch up. Harvesting cotton should be in Mali, in Bamako. Peccary in Mexico. That one's caught me out a few times. Confusing Mexico with some of the South American options. Golden parakeets are in Brazil. And yeah, despite the double mistake, the time loss has been mitigated as best as possible. It's still going to be over 2 minutes for the case, but it's still an improvement in comparison to the personal best. So it goes to show, even if you have a case with 9 destinations to travel to, if you make a mistake or two, it could still potentially be faster than a 10 destination run. So case 47. Yeah, so Carmen could still appear, and it was actually, I don't think it was the case with this one. I think we have, yeah, that's right, we have a male suspect. And yep, and I forgot about the combination there, so I think that was seafood and convertible. So yeah, so that's going to be either Len Bulk or Robin Banks. Described as a real brunette, brown hair, blanked for a brief moment as to, oh, where am I going to? Because the only thing that I had in mind was like, oh, brown hair, I know who it's going to be. It's going to be Robin Banks. South China Sea. And made a mistake there. And it's in Singapore. So that was my 8th mistake. After Beijing. The Pepper Tycoon, that clue, yeah, remembering that clue has actually been helpful from, again, from Vinny Video's guide. So that was something that he mentioned in his write-up. So the whole, yeah, Pepper Tycoon thing would be taking you to Bangkok. We've got a long verdict
Order
here.
in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
And we're on to case 48. So, still ahead, 4 minutes 45 seconds, best possible time, still under 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now, it's a woman, Mexican food, looking for a gem broker, so jewelry. So, straight away we have three suspects in the mix. So Carmen, Mary LaRock, and Lady Agatha Wayland. But the clue of the limousine makes it very clear. It's going to be Mary LaRock. So it's almost just a relief by this stage that, okay, it looks like Carmen's not coming back at all, but yeah, there's still one more case, so it's possible that she reappears. So with these latter stages, is it worth capturing Carmen by this point, by case 48 or case 49? It probably is. There's no point. There's no point in restarting a case because, especially if you capture Carmen on case 48, because all that you're losing is you're losing about 10 seconds. I mean, it'd have to be incredibly, even if it's incredibly early in the case, you'd have to like get the hints of like brown eyes and brown hair, or brown hair and a convertible at your first destination virtually.
Order in the court.
But even then,
The
yeah,
court
I mean,
finds the
you'll lose a
defendant
little bit of time because of role play, because there is a little bit of role play after the guilty verdict in the court from Carmen. But yeah, it's not too much of a time loss at that stage. So you could capture Carmen on case 48. You could capture on case 49. You only have there's just a minor time loss for role play on case 49, but it doesn't matter because by case 50. You'll be doing your maximum amount of destinations that you need to travel to. But yeah, the clues that we have: mountain climbing and seafood. It's Catherine Dribb. So yeah, so skipping Carmen has paid off in this case. So going from case 35 and for her not to reappear. But as I mentioned before, it is possible for her to reappear. And that has happened to me. That's happened to me once before so far. And that was on a failed run. That was when, yeah, I blanked on one clue. I think I blanked on one clue and put in the incorrect bit of evidence. I think, yeah, for that run, I was told that the suspect had taupe hair, which is going to be brown hair, and for some reason I put in blonde. But you learn from it and you get ready for the next run. So we get a short verdict. And there's our last question. So Archibald. And we are now at Super Sleuth. So we're over 5.5 minutes saved by this stage. On to case number 50. Best possible save time, 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours and 19 minutes and a little bit of change. And it's I'll be honest, it was in the back of my mind by this stage, I could possibly get under 2 hours and 20 minutes, especially if I'm making quick time and just make quick movements and just saving that little bit of extra time, get a good run of clues, and it's not out of the question. But yeah, now that we're Super Sleuth, the rank of Super Sleuth, we're at the maximum amount of destinations to travel to, which is 10, in order to find our suspect. Limousine. The combination of croquet, Mexican food, and jewelry. Not a good combination if your suspect is a man, but the vehicle does help. Okay, so pretty much So for the next 31 cases, so from case 50 through to case 80, it is rinse and repeat. There's not a great deal. In fact, it's almost at this point that it's just a matter of consistency. So just getting into that groove. So your first 49 cases, it's a bit of an up and down rhythm.
Order in the court.
Especially earlier on with fewer destinations to travel to, but now it's a case of aim to complete each case in under 2 minutes. Hopefully in about 1:50 for each one, and that should set you up for a pretty good time. Yeah, a pretty good time overall. But again, it's still not out of the question in terms of traveling from one country to the next to having to forage to find extra clues. I did have a previous run where I think it was based upon this personal best time. There were a couple of destinations where I had to deliberately delay from going to the last place in order to get the game to generate extra clues. Skin diving and junk food will definitely give a warrant, since the two skin divers eat different types of food. Well, certainly for the women, not for the men though. For the men, if I remember correctly, both skin divers eat Chinese food. Pretty good run. Slight stall there from the second clue.
Freeze!
And that can sometimes happen with some of the clues that you pick up, especially when you get to your final destination. I think it's partly dependent on the length of the animation that's used. When you normally watch the animations playing the game, but we don't see any animations as part of this run at all. So normally quirky animations for suspects and somewhat violent ones when you get to your final place as part of a case. So a little bit of panic at this stage, just not getting sufficient clues. to Bangkok. So motorcyclist and Mexican food. I think it's yeah, that was enough. Because yeah, so again, 2 motorcyclists, one eats Mexican food, which is Nick Brunch, and the other one eats junk food, which is You'll Be Sorry. So yeah, so definitely in comparison with the previous Where in the World title. So Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego had less suspects, whereas we have 20 suspects for Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego Deluxe. And yeah, an outstanding difference between the two games is that you definitely need to have at least 2 pieces of evidence to pick up your suspect. Whereas with the previous version of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, it was possible to get someone with just 2 clues. I remember Catherine Drib was in that boat, so all you needed was so woman and motorcycle, and you just knew, oh, it's going to be Catherine Drib. So it's great in this version that they spread the options out across the suspects a lot more. Still very handy to get some suspects just with 2 clues, as we do in this case. Now, I don't think I gold split this one. The Mahjong tournament in Manila, in the Philippines. A little bit of alliteration to remember. Play Go in Tokyo. Bit of a rhyme with that one, but yeah, handy to remember. Oh, and a little bit ahead of myself there. Just, I think I was a little bit more surprised in terms of like, oh, I'm already at the final place. That takes a bit more time. So there's not really any way to speed that up further. I've tested to see if it does take less time, but yeah, but not really in that case. Okay, so slight time loss from the previous split, but we're still over 6 minutes and 40 seconds ahead. It's only added a couple more seconds onto the best possible time. So some very fast clues. I don't know why I picked up that extra hint. I didn't need to pick up the extra hint. I'm not sure if I could have. I could have possibly sent for my could have fetched a warrant, but I think just for the time being, it's a case of like just pick up one more clue just to be on the safe side. But yeah, this is a very good opportunity, this split. So seeing the time, like personal best 2 minutes, best 1 minute 55. It's a case of like, well, get a good run and especially a good verdict, and this will be a significant time save. Brown-eyed, that just gives enough clues. And a scar. Yeah, we've already got it. And that's possibly our last destination. It is. Good.
Halt! Halt!
Rapid click through. It's going to be a really good time
Guilty.
save. So yeah, at this stage, anything that's over a minute 50 for my best time, I just kept perceiving that as an opportunity to get a gold split in order to lower the amount of time further. Hi, invited to a cricket match. That can be a little bit. That can be a problematic clue, especially when Colombo's in the mix. But usually, if it's anything, I think it's anything that's cricket related is going to be in Colombo. But it's funny for those of us that play cricket. Normally, the first countries that come to mind are countries like Australia and England. Actually, there's one unique clue. Actually, Colombo's got quite a few unique clues, but there's one about playing a rugby match in Gaul, and rugby union's not normally a sport. I think that would be immediately associated with Sri Lanka. So normally you're looking at sport like cricket. To be honest, I'm not completely sure what other sports they play, but perhaps rugby is one of the feature sports of their country. Arriving in New Delhi, and there's Armadillo.
Freeze! Oh.
And we get a long verdict.
Order in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
So, minor time loss, but still we're under 2 minutes, so it's a pretty good run. Significant opportunity here in case number 56. So personal best was well over 2 minutes, so 2 minutes and 17 seconds. That was either the basis of a mistake made or having to stall to find extra clues. So hair the color of flax, which is going to be blonde hair. And we make a mistake there. So that's going to be our ninth mistake. Yeah, that's our ninth mistake that we've made. So the Sin Desert, that was just a very easy mistake to make. And we have our clues to get our suspect, which should be Horowitz. And again, we're just moving quickly, citing the clues, and just make our move to the next place. Tavla in Turkey. And we have our suspect.
Halt!
And it should be, I think it's a gold split.
Halt!
No, it's tied anyway.
Guilty.
Yeah, it was a gold split. There we go. So significant time save, nearly 20 seconds. So over 7 minutes ahead of personal best. So the personal best was 2 hours and 28 minutes. I think the previous run that I submitted for world record was 2 hours and 32 minutes, but it was an aim. Whatever my next run was going to be, the aim was to get it under 2 hours and 25 minutes. Okay, there's a great example there for 4 countries in a close cluster. So for the 4 Central American countries. And just having to take that time just to think like, hang on a sec, where am I going to? Actually, I had to replay the clue as well because I forgot that stage. Like, hang on a sec, where am I going to again? And I had to bring that back up. So small time loss. Mexican food, that gives us our suspect. ski jumping competition in Oslo. So nearly anything snow related is pretty much going to take you to Oslo all the time. There's only one clue that won't take you to Oslo in terms of hints to do with snow, and I think it's the suspect taking their skis and ski poles. That will take you to Vienna instead of Oslo.
Halt!
And we got him.
Halt!
Rapid click through. It is going to be a
Guilty.
time loss, but still within pretty good range. That small stalling around Central America didn't help, but better to take that little bit more time than just to sort of almost guess at random. So Jurong, make a mistake straight away. That should have been Singapore, not going to Myanmar. So I think, actually no, I said before that was my 10th mistake. I said before yeah. So no, that was in fact my 10th mistake, if I remember correctly by this stage. And again, it's a case, if you make a mistake, you just got to compensate and catch up the time as best as possible. So brown wig. Didn't need to add the wig clue in there. Just the brown hair and brown eyes is enough. So it works for. So that should work. Yeah, it works for the men for Robin Banks, and it works for the women with Carmen Sandiego. I think, second guess myself at that stage. I had a look at the time. It's like, oh, okay, I should have the suspect here, but I need that one extra destination to get to, which was in Colombo. And we get a long verdict,
Order in the
which
court.
is unfortunate,
The
but
court finds the defendant guilty.
it's still under. It was meant to be under two. It was meant to be under 2 minutes. Just very briefly blanked with putting the split in. And we're up to case number 59. Cambodia Bay off to Myanmar. Path and Code of Vendettas. This one, did this one catch me out? Yeah, stalled a little bit here. But then, just clicked like, hang on a sec, no, that's Afghanistan. So clue that they're blonde. No place like Chrome, New Delhi. The Butler pottery, so blonde hair, grey eyes, should give us Serenade. The Butler pottery, went to Turkey, should have gone to Kigali in Rwanda. So mistake, and I think and I realised in the next clue, the Burundian refugees. Hang on a sec, that's going to be in Africa. So just going to keep moving. Just moving rapidly. And I think getting to Cairo. No, one more place, that's right. So it's a fairly significant time loss, but rather fortunate that the second clue that we've investigated, and sometimes you can do that. So just by jumping straight to Ring Crime Net, that can give you that opportunity to catch the suspect.
Order in the court.
Long verdict.
The court finds the defendant guilty.
there's not anything that I've found so far that can always influence a short verdict. It'd be great if there was, so hopefully there is something that can influence that. But we're up to case number 60. So yep, so 11 mistakes. And we have Lean on Me. Beryl Markham. Yeah, that was a mistake. It shouldn't have been Oslo, should have been Nairobi. And as soon as I see, yep, the clue about the island of Lamu, yep, Kenya. So again, it was just a rush, not thinking at the time. Hang on a sec, should be this country instead. Good place to buy. It's probably the funniest clue. So there's some frustrating clues, but that'd have to be the funniest clue. Where's the best place to buy running shoes? Seoul. Budum-tsh. After Korea. I don't know who came up with that clue in this game, but yeah, it's a dad quality clue, that's for sure. And we have our suspect.
Halt!
Provided we get a good run out of this, it still could be under 2 minutes. And it's a long verdict. So at this stage, I'm looking at the best possible time. It's
guilty.
Shifted over 2 hours and 20 minutes. Still significantly ahead though, 6 minutes and 24 seconds. But it certainly wouldn't be out of reach to be able to get under 2 hours and 20 minutes. So it's a case of like, okay, not out of this yet. There's still a lot of opportunities to gold several of these splits in the last 20 cases. You just gotta keep progressing, just with your knowledge of clues and minimizing time. Just stay focused as much as you can. Even though it's getting late at night, as you can see next to my screen there, that's one thing I do just keep track of. I keep track of the time just to confirm the time that it does take me to work through this in the game. We have our suspect. So it's a combination of being a little bit later at night, having finished a glass of whiskey as well. Although not really feeling the effects of it. Just keeping relaxed, keeping calm. Although by this stage, because you've been just staring at the screen for so long, just keeping track of the clues as you go, things do start to feel I wouldn't say blurry, but feeling slightly disoriented.
Order in the court.
But
the court finds the defendant guilty.
But it's very important when you get those breaks with the verdicts. Just shaking out the fingers, shake out the wrist if you can. Just getting a brief stretch in. Even just getting a quick look away from the screen, just to get the eyes to momentarily adjust, or just to give them a break from looking at such a short distance. But you definitely have to take care of yourself as best as you can during, especially during a Hall of Fame run. So from the beginning to the end, but especially feeling the effects as you're setting in. So just make sure you have as good a posture as possible. Just good position for your arms and wrists. especially for your left hand, where it's just constantly pressing down the escape key. I end up usually doing a little bit of rotation between between what I'm pressing the escape key with. So usually most of the time I'll be using my middle finger to keep the key pressed down, but I'll often switch to other fingers just to change up the hand position a bit. Just to change up the hand position as I go along. The mouse hand, as you can see, there's normally a lot of left mouse. In fact, previously it just used to be left mouse button clicking. But thankfully, figuring out that you could use both mouse buttons, it just spreads the weight between the fingers a bit. Still got to be careful with what you're doing with your arm. So with your forearm, your wrist, just making sure that you're doing everything possible to keep the joints relaxed, stretched out. Just trying to change the position with your hand as much as you can. So case number 63, Samrong Sen, Phnom Penh. Just rhymes. There's a hesitation there. Just a brief moment, just blanking on the clue. Harash sandals in Mexico. So blonde hair, tennis and limousine. Should be Dazzaleni Nonka. Continental Divide. I think I was supposed to go to Buenos Aires. Yep. So there's our 13th mistake. And yeah, each mistake that you have going to incorrect destination, it'll cost you time. So roughly 10 to 15 seconds. So by this stage, with the amount of mistakes made, I definitely looked and there's a couple of minutes that I could save if I get a good run of clues and play perfect.
Halt!
So we've taken over 2 minutes as a result.
Guilty.
So that could have taken a minute 54, possibly even less time. But yeah, it's all part of the experience as you play through the game, as you learn the clues. I know I've mentioned that several times. Good place to get running shoes. Again, we're back to Seoul. Country with the Nationalised Health Service, or the NHS, going to be going to London. Amadeus, it's going to be Mozart in Vienna. But yeah, for the next while, get a very good run of cases. So from 64 through, I think 64 through to 71. So end up getting a pretty good run through here. So going from one case to the next, simply, you're just remaining focused on lowering the time as much as possible. So best possible time is still a little bit over 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Freeze!
Pretty good find at about 1.5 minutes. So if you're finding your final destination or suspect around that 1.5 minute mark for a case, chances are you're going to be in for a really good time. Great split there, so nearly 7 seconds. Again, just lowers the time. So it's a bit of give and take around this stage. So I think by now I had figured out that 2 hours and 25 minutes would easily be attainable. So even I think I even told myself at this stage, even if I bombed a case, like had an incorrect suspect, I could just still go through and finish up and still have an outstanding time. But obviously, yes, you want to remain on task as much as you can to get the clues, to get sufficient clues to form your warrant, and continue from there. And I've just realised as I'm recording this, I've tipped past midnight, so it is now Christmas Day. But yeah, so I started recording this Christmas Eve. It is now Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas if you happen to be watching this on Christmas Day. This was a run as well that ended up just tipping over midnight, so from December 15 to December 16. And yep, again, that 1 minute 30 mark. Just a slight hold up because the suspect wasn't at the second clue, but was going to be the third clue. Yep, and a long verdict. But it would still be a gold spread.
Guilty.
And now we've tipped it back into the favour of being under 2 hours and 20 minutes. So very good result to achieve. And then even this split, so case 66, personal best of 2 minutes 7, best split of 2 minutes and 3 seconds. It's like, well, again, we could get this under 1 minute 50, especially getting to the final destination by 1 minute 30. Great clue to pick up as well. So hair colour of pennies, which is going to be red hair. So red hair, green eyes. It's going to be Lady Agatha Wayland. I think I momentarily lifted off the escape key, which can cause the panel that lifts out to slow up a little bit. Very good run of clues. Lucky Volcano, Reykjavik, yep. The Eternal Flame, which is Baghdad. That was one clue that I had to search up, and there are quite a few countries that have an eternal candle or eternal flame thing. Anyway, it always belongs to Baghdad in this game. Again, there's that 1 minute 30 mark. Very good find. Rapidly click through. There was a slight hold up, but nothing too significant. There's short verdict, which we get. It should be under 1 minute 50.
Guilty.
There we go. 1 minute 49. And again, just swinging further back in our favour of getting under 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I guess the long-term goal with this game. So where I started off with, in terms of a speed run of this game, the first time that I've recorded for myself was 3 hours and 55 minutes, and that was with that was making some pretty bad mistakes along the way, having incorrect suspects, so running out of time on a few cases as well. So just relearning the game from there. So to go from 3 minutes, so to go from 3 hours 55 minutes to 2 hours. So prior to this run, 2 hours and 28 minutes. I just looked at that as like quite a significant improvement. So my final time, actually, I won't mention the final time for the moment, because we'll leave that as a bit of we'll see what happens with the final time at the end of this. But to see where I've progressed up to is very promising in terms of how much time we can continually shave off and just find little mechanical things here and there with the game. cut down on time.
Order in the court.
But
The
ultimately,
court
I think
finds the defendant guilty.
the big goal to aim for this game is to figure out a way to complete it in under 2 hours, which would be crazy good. But that's going to be quite a task to figure out. But yeah, so I mean, whether I do that or if someone else does that, I mean, I'd be absolutely chuffed either way to see who can figure out a way of completing a Hall of Fame run in under 2 hours. So capturing Carmen, can be done in under an hour. Completing a single case, well, as I've shown so far, it can be completed in under a minute. So I think the record I have for that is 53 seconds. I've had a couple of runs. I haven't submitted them though, but I have had a couple of runs that have gone for 51 seconds. But I believe there's further ways via chance of getting under 50 seconds with a single case run. But that'll be something that might be something I'll investigate a little bit further in the future. But yeah, as I said a lot earlier on though, Hall of Fame, that's more my fascination. I enjoy the runs, these types of runs where you have to, there's a bit of an endurance aspect where you have to concentrate and focus through with what you're working on. So focusing on it, getting into routine, maybe even improving that routine further. So just getting that concentration deeper into the run. Get a long verdict, but compared to the personal best time, it's a huge improvement of 27.5 seconds. So best possible time, again, just goes up a little bit, but we're still in a great position at this stage. So 2 hours, 19 and 38 seconds. Case number 69, the Muyus. That's right there in China. Picking up some clues. There's a slight second guess there. So the Guaymi Indians. Always in Panama. Our lengthy clue there takes us to Myanmar. All I needed was the first two clues. Brown hair, brown eyes. But yeah, put the mountain climbing in there as well. Even just brown hair and mountain climbing will do the trick. Or brown eyes and brown eyes and mountain climbing as well. Because the only two mountain climbers are, as I mentioned before, Len Bulk and Robin Banks. And they both have different eye colour and hair colour from each other. That was close again. Just placement of destination. Normally Kathmandu is placed a bit further to the right, but when there's another destination like Bangkok that's in there, it is placed to the left.
Freeze! Order in the court.
Got a long
The
verdict.
court finds the defendant guilty.
Nice. Gold split. 8 minutes 24. That's case 69 completed. And we're on to case number 70. So we're approaching the final stretch. Just got to pick up this commendation first. Not that the commendations don't really mean anything significant. I haven't noticed anything significant about the commendations as you rank up. I think it's just a reminder that that you've completed another set of 10 cases as you go along, as you're working through as a super sleuth. Off to Vienna, the headquarters of OPEC. And by this stage we had, yeah, there's enough clues there. So grey eyes, Mexican food, and limousine. I didn't have to put all the clues in. In fact, just grey eyes, and one of the other ones would have given us our male suspect, as I mentioned earlier. African Switzerland, which is Rwanda.
Halt!
And then I think they mention an Asian Switzerland as well, which is Seoul, Korea. Get a fast verdict.
Guilty.
Another improvement from our personal best. Okay, so we're into the final stretch now. Last 10 cases. And by this stage, just seeing the best possible time, under 2 hours and 20 minutes. Just a case of like, right, let's move quick. There's that clue that's come through again about traveling to Lima. Had to refresh seeing where I was traveling to. So again, just having the clue in the back of my mind. Mint coloured eyes. That should do the trick. So green-eyed skateboard, armadillo. The only other person with green eyes is Agatha Wayland, who is in a convertible. Paul Elstrom in Denmark. I think there's one more place to get to from here. To Kenya. I think that was it. Yeah. So that was under a minute 30. So very good run of clues.
Freeze!
And yeah, taking the flight by this stage, and a short verdict as well, fast verdict. So again, a nice gold split, reducing the best possible time even further. So yeah, so the next time we get back into these runs, it's going to be a scary prospect having a look at some of these splits. Like, oh my goodness. But yeah, it puts into perspective the possibility of, first of all, I mean, as I said, yeah, ultimately I'd love to see what we can do to get this game completed under 2 hours, but to achieve the goal of getting under 2 hours and 15 minutes, that's going to take a bit more work. So I thought a lot more work was going to be taken to get from 2 hours 30 minutes to 2 hours 25. But the discovery of what you can do with skipping Carmen, but between cases 35 to 49, that made quite a significant difference. And it's shown in this run to not just get under 2 hours and 25 minutes, but to get, well, okay, I'm going to let it out of the bag. We do get under 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it ends up being a lot closer call than what we realize. And I'll mention that a bit further as we go along. So I think I had, there was one mistake in this case. It's case 72, yeah. So I might have missed the mistake already. Yeah, I missed the mistake earlier in the case. But still, just doing everything that you can to compensate and make up for it makes a huge difference. Very good chance of being under 2 minutes as long as we get a short verdict. Unfortunately, not this time.
The court finds the defendant guilty.
So just got to keep plugging along. But now it's a case of just getting through the next case. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned so far: when you get to the when I get to the end of a case, so once we've had the guilty verdict and exited the courtroom, I'll make sure that my mouse button is hovering over the send receive button at the bottom of the panel. And while my cursor is hovering over that button, I'm going to keep the escape key pressed down. I should have mentioned this earlier in the run, but yeah, I'll hopefully have something better constructed, so then you get this information sooner, whether it's a video guide or a written guide. But yeah, when it's a case of pressing any of the panel buttons except for travel, crime net, and warrant, if the mouse is hovering over one of those panels and you're keeping the escape key, possibly any other key, but we want the escape key especially because it is the fastest pressing button, the panel will just press with that button automatically. So originally with this game, there were different ways that you could move the cursor around. So the fastest way is obviously by moving it by using your mouse, but you could also use your keyboard. So back in the 90s, yeah, not all computers had access to a mouse. Actually, I remember some of my early years in primary school. Yeah, we didn't have a mouse with computers that we used. And we have a gold split there. But yeah, the other way you can move your cursor in this game is by using the arrow keys on your keyboard. But that's not going to be very time efficient in this case. Be somewhat rather sadistic if there was ever a run that was developed no mouse. I mean, that would just be absolutely cruel. Yeah, let's not ever do that. So just keeping clues in mind. We've got our fourth option there. Doesn't hurt to pick it up. And we've got enough evidence. So sometimes I would do that as part of a run where I'd have the evidence in mind, but I wouldn't enter it straight away. It'd just be a case of I'll just get to the next country. So there's a great example there. So it's a woman with 3 hints, and we have 2 suspects. So we need to grab another clue. I'm hoping at this stage, please be one clue here, and there is. So we've got a warrant for Catherine Drib, and we're going to head to Tokyo. And as a case from here, just press on. Just keep pressing ahead as much as I can. I think I underestimated the amount of time that I was up to and how many clues I should have.
Halt!
So generating a list with multiple warrants, that ends up being a little bit of a time loss as well.
Guilty.
It usually ends up being a time loss of around about a few seconds. So yeah, most ideal thing, and especially as part of a single case run, have enough clues to get your suspect. Especially if you get a clue where you can guarantee that, you know what, I just need one other clue to go with this one, whether it be the first clue or the second clue. So from the previous split, there was time loss of 11 seconds, bumps up the best possible time just a little bit further. So potential of 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 45 seconds. So tennis, Mexican food, jewelry. I should have just put in red hair as well, but anyway, that's solved. So the 2 suspects that could have had that combination of playing tennis, Mexican food, and jewelry, again, Carmen Sandiego and Agatha Wayland, but because we are ranked super sleuth, Carmen Sandiego will not appear at all. So yeah, that top rank, yeah, you can always guarantee that Carmen's going to be off the books.
Freeze!
Again, small
Order in
time
the
lost
court.
this stage.
The court finds the defendant guilty.
And 5 cases to go. So again, still looking pretty good. One thing I was keeping in mind here was the last case. So the personal best that I had set, I did have to. So unusually, I did have to deliberately stall on the last case because I didn't have enough clues. I had to cycle back and forth between a couple of countries to get the clue to drop some clues. Took a little bit to think about where I was traveling with that hint. Country that borders with 10 others is going to be Brazil, but yeah, better to take that little bit of time to think through. Like, hang on a sec, do I actually know where I'm going to? Especially if you've been thoroughly working through the clues. Blonde hair, grey eyes, serenade. The rare laughing disease in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. So we found Serenade around about minute 40. Not the best time, but still potential if we get actually no. I was going to say if we got a fast verdict, but that's not really going to be the case.
Guilty.
Yep. So the hesitations cost significant time. So that could have been under a minute 50, but better safe than sorry. So pretty good run of clues so far. There's our clue of junk food. And we'll have our suspect. Join the Rastafarians in Jamaica. Land of Eternal Spring, Guatemala. Getting a very good run, just one more place to get to. Yokwan in Seoul, Korea. So to locate him in under a minute, in under a minute 30 is an outstanding result. And yeah, regardless, it's going to be a gold split. So even with the long verdict.
Order in the court. The court finds the defendant guilty.
There you go. So minus say for a gold split, but approaching being ahead by 8.5 minutes is. Especially from my previous personal best of 2 minutes and 28 seconds. 2 hours and good grief, I've been doing that a few times tonight. So yeah, getting under 2 hours and 28 minutes is just is a huge effort. So 3 cases to go. By this stage, yeah, just feeling very keen. Just just trying to keep as relaxed as I can. Still hoping at the same time, just please be a friendly set of clues to get a great time. But yeah, by this stage, you're feeling it a little bit. You're feeling it a little bit in the hands, especially the static position of your left hand with the escape button. Just all the work that your fingers are doing to menu through as quick as you can, or access the next item. Yep, so around that 1 minute 30 mark. Again, just a slightly slow animation to begin with, but still fortunate to pick up the suspect on the second clue.
Order in the court.
Unfortunately, get a long verdict here.
The court finds the defendant guilty.
And now the best possible time. 2 hours, 19 minutes and 59 seconds, and it's a case now with the last couple of with these last couple of cases. You're just hoping that you do the work, you move as fast as you can, get good clues, just preempting where you can where you're going to next as soon as you can. But I was very confident by this stage that with the last couple of cases, I could just I'd be able to move through the destinations quite quickly. Red hair, again, just it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. Just one extra clue, and you'll have your suspect. So that was a relief at that stage. So red hair and convertible, and just a case of right, let's just power through as best as possible. So I knew, by this stage, one more destination to get to. The Tarantella is going to be in Italy, in Rome, and still need one more place to get to. So around about that 1 minute 30 mark, just hoping just to get them as quick as I can. There he is, second clue.
Halt!
Get a faster menu. And just hoping, please give me, please give me a fast
Guilty.
verdict. Get a fast verdict. Turns into a gold split. Not by a great deal, just 0.3 of a second, but still, it's enough to work through. So now it's a case with number 80. I knew that I would be able to beat my personal best, so getting that under 2 minutes. But best time of 1 minute 57 seconds. Just be a case of work through as quick as I can. Slight hesitation to begin with. And now it's just a case of there's slight catch up here because I've potentially lost a second or two, but it's a case of just navigate through, pick up your clues. So mask and snorkel. We've got a skin diver. Even that opportunity there was a fourth clue opportunity, but just decided no. Got enough evidence. Don't need to worry about picking up that extra clue. Had to click back through the evidence to. So that was a very minor time loss there. To establish our warrant. But it's a case now. Just keep going. Just go. Even just a slight preempt there with getting to Sydney. Helena Rubinstein, we're off to Warsaw, and that should be our final destination. Very fortunate, so picked up Beyond Toulouse on the second clue. Click like mad, and just like, please, short verdict. It's a short verdict.
Guilty.
which is great. And there we go. So it ends up being under 2 hours and 20 minutes. So 2 hours, 90 minutes and 56 seconds. If it was a long verdict, it would have been very, very tight. But I still think it would have been under 2 hours and 20 minutes. Anyway, that's the Hall of Fame run. That's my new record time run. It's been a lot of fun to commentate on this run. I hope you've enjoyed it. A bit different to just having music in the background. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel. And yeah, hope to see you for future runs or guides for Carmen Deluxe. Bye for now.